Join us live now from South Africa is Oscar Emetuei, is the Executive Director of Billion House Consulting and National Deputy President, Nigerian Citizens Association, South Africa. It's so good to have you join us on the news at this time.
Thank you so much for having me, and good afternoon to your listeners out there.
Good afternoon. So, looking at this bill, earlier on, we heard of reports of South Africa being the most unequal country. Now, a newly proposed government policy seeks to limit the number of foreign nationals employed at businesses, foreign-owned SMEs, and foreign platform service providers such as e-hailing drivers. How would you react to this? Do you think this will solve South Africa's labor woes?
I think what we're looking at is we understand the current predicament that the country is actually going through right now, and unemployment is at the highest level at this time since the country became a democratically elected country. We have seen a surge in unemployment, and we understand the complaints of the locals. However, this is more, in as much as if you look at the draft content, it shows that they want to give priority and attention equally to foreign nationals. But we see this more like protecting the locals and to some extent, not really in a good light for the foreign or immigrants in the country, and also investors that are investing in the country. Don't forget that a lot of multinationals that have decided to open businesses in South Africa because of the cheap labor. And when you have laws, policies like this, one just have to wait to see how effective this is really going to be in the country.
Now, looking at this priority on locals, we know that South Africa has had a past plagued by xenophobia. Would you relate this policy to trying to enforce the prevention of foreign nationals, especially from Southern Africa?
Yeah, I think that's it, how it is and how it should be said. If you've been following the trend that's happening in the country, there's a new movement called the Operation Dudula. And for us, we are beginning to see that this is an emergence of what happened in 2008, if it is not controlled. Now, it's tactical, it's systematic, and we don't have to overlook that in the next 2 years, the country will be going into election. And we are beginning to see where you find other small parties, like if you follow the last local government election that was held, I think 2-3 months ago, you see new parties emerging, beginning to use immigrants as tool of campaigns and what they're going to do, what they will do, not addressing social services that should be done. Now, we're becoming a tool for vote, a tool for if you want to win. So this might not really be completely off the ruling party, ANC, trying to dance or listen, maybe in quotes, to the people, because they actually lost some slides, some votes in the controls of metropolis in the last local election. So this is coming in that way. But however, we also know as a country, they have the responsibility to protect its citizens. My take here is this the best approach and how best to go about it? Or is this just to systematically say we don't want immigrants any longer? Like I said, we will have to watch to see how this become in the next few futures. And don't forget, it's also more or less like a draft. It's not that it's been passed, it will still go through the parliament, and it will also be vetted before it becomes a full-fledged policy.
I'm happy for that last question you dropped, and this brings me to the next question, which is the issue of job creation, because when you mentioned the Operation Dudula, it talked about people, residents in South Africa, talked about the scarce jobs being taken away by foreigners. But the question there is, there are scarce jobs in South Africa. So do you see this as creating a greater threat to job creation in South Africa?
From a thought leader and consulting perspective, I think that immigrant does have its own advantage when they move into a new environment or a new country. In as much, like I did say, that the leadership of every country primarily should prioritize his or her citizen. That's it. But we also understand that people migrate to places where they can find opportunity. But statistically, it has not been proven that foreigners are beginning to take the job or are now doing what the locals should be doing. It's only in situations where you find that they're not willing to do this. That's when probably you find immigrants given an opportunity. That also said, immigrants brings innovation. They bring some kinds of flair or a mix into a new environment, and you see creativity at burst. So any policy that is designed to disenfranchise or to say you're not welcome, to some extent is not healing or solving the problem of unemployment. When there is small businesses thriving, they create employment. They're able to take people, 1, 2, 3, and big companies take hundreds. But when the environment becomes so suffocating that they cannot thrive, what I foresee is that what you try to cure might not actually get cured by just trying to find a way to kill or to suffocate the small immigrant community, trying to create opportunity and create jobs. We won't be able to achieve this mix and the flair which is needed for the country to grow.
All right, thank you so much, Oscar. As you said earlier on, it's a draft and we see so many advantages and disadvantages with this draft, and we'll wait for the people of South Africa to have your final take. Thank you so much for joining us on the news and sharing so much insight on this topic, Oscar.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate the time.